Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to continue building the Tamiya BT-01 chassis kit with the Supra body, and we're going to be working on the electronics, and that's going to be from steps 29 to 31, and I'm going to skip the tire for the next video. Also include the cable management. I'm not sure why it skips it, but I'm going to include that as well. So let's not waste any time and get started. So first, a quick primer, just in case you're not familiar with RC car electronics. I'm just going to go over all of the components here. So that is going to be the transmitter, and yours is going to vary. That transmitter has a paired receiver. I think you can see that. So these should be bind together already. If they are not, you're going to have to read the manual and figure out how to bind it. All right, we have the servo right here, which is this. We also have the ESC. I'm using the one that came with the kit. I think if you're in North America, you also receive this ESC as well. And the only thing I've done with the switch is kind of slide it onto the body of the ESC just to tuck it away. And I'll show you a little bit ahead. If this kit came with a Tamiya ESC, the switch can be mounted onto the chassis, but that's not going to be the case with this one. And of course, we have the battery. I'm using a LiPo battery. And the last piece is going to be the motor, which is on the chassis. I'm just going to use this as a stand-in for now to illustrate what I'm going to do. All right, so all of these parts are obviously connected. And we're going to start with the receiver, because this is where you're going to plug in the output electronics, like the servo, which is going to turn the wheel of the car, and the ESC, which is going to tell the motor how fast to go and also which direction, forward or back. All right, so I would say 99.9% of all the receivers, channel 1 is going to be for the servo. And then channel 2 is going to be the ESC. I'm going to connect the motor so we can test it. For you, you can just connect it to the chassis. I just want to keep the dust clear. And then lastly, I'm going to connect the battery, of course. Looks a little bit complicated, but let me go over it with you real quick. This is your input device. This is where you're going to control the throttle and then the turns. That signal is received by the receiver. And say you're turning the car, it's going to tell the servo to turn. And if you're operating the throttle, it's going to send a signal to ESC, which is going to send a signal to the motor to go faster or slower, forward or reverse. And of course, the battery is going to be supporting the power to do that. So what you want to do is test everything. And you always want to turn on the transmitter first before the ESC and the rest of the electronics on the car. And so I switched it on. I heard a couple beeps, and I don't have the servo horn on yet, but I think you can hear. Okay, I know the servo's working. I'm going to hold on to the motor really tight because it's going to spin out of your hand if you don't. And I'm going to operate. I think you can see that. I think the polarity is reversed right now, but I can fix that. So now that we know everything works, let's get started putting it together. For now, I'm going to unplug the motor. We're not going to need this anymore. And don't unplug the servo because we're going to need to mount the servo saver. And you want the system to be powered up so that it's centered. If you did this step before you plugged it in and you haven't centered the servo, you never know. You may put it in this position. As soon as you turn it on, it may be, another 45 degrees going this way. So you always want to power your servo. Make sure it's centered before you mount the servo horn. All right, all the parts you see here are going to be on this tree right here. And there's a ball stud here. It says if we need everything in bag C. There's ball stud and some screws. Okay. Okay. And next we need to identify, every servo is going to be unique, so you have to kind of experiment yourself. There are not any screws in this bag, so let's grab the other bag right here. So the first thing we need to do is find a screw that's suitable for this, and you can see here that it may be a tapping screw, it may be a standard screw. You really just have to test yourself which one it's going to be. That's not it. Okay, I think this one is going to work for my servo. All right, so I'm going to get started with this piece is P4, or it could be D10 depending on how many tooth your servo has. Mine is going to be 24, I believe, and I'm just going to mount this. It's never perfectly straight. Don't worry about it. We will address that later. And then next is going to be this piece right here. You do have to spread it open a little bit. Okay, there you go. And then now we're going to put this on. And again, the same plastic kind of indexes into there, like that. Then we're going to put this plastic spacer in there. And then the screw. Okay, we're ready. I can go ahead and turn this off for now because I know this is centered. All right, next we're going to bring back the chassis and we're going to put on the battery holders. Okay, I'm not crazy about this layout, but the chassis is going to go this way. You can see the gearbox is right there. And we're going to need both pieces of B11. And they're going to be on separate trees. So that's going to be here and there. Okay. Now, very straightforward. We're going to mount the servo onto the chassis. And the servo is going to be facing this way. And we're going to drop it right here. So I'm going to tuck that. And I'm going to put the receiver on this side. So it's actually going to go right here. Put on the screws. Okay, when you're done, it should look like that. And if you look at this diagram, this is the switch I was talking about. If you had a Tamiya ESE, you would screw that onto there. All right, next let's tape on the receiver. Yours is going to vary. I'm just going to use this one. Really doesn't matter which direction you put it on. There we go. Let's put the ESC right here. All right, and I think I'm going to put it this way. No, I want the switch to be outside. So I'm going to put it here. Okay, all right, when you're done, it should look like this. And I'm going to plug things back in. I'm going to plug the motor in. Make sure these are seated completely. You don't want this falling off when you're driving. Now, let's see. All right, so let's go ahead and test it again. I'm going to turn this on. Turn this on. The servo hasn't been connected yet, but let's look at here. All right, that's working. And let's see if the wheels will spin. All right, looks like everything is working there. So I think we've successfully installed the electronics. All right, let me turn everything off. Now, like I said, we're going to do a little bit of cable management. They have all the wires in on this side. Comes with a bunch of zip ties, and that's what you're going to use them for. And let's go ahead and bundle this. Actually, let me show you another way. I'm going to first just straighten this out. Grab a pen, and I'm going to start winding this. If you have anything with a smaller diameter, that's even better. All right, and this is the balance lead for the battery. While I'm driving, this is way too long. I think I'm going to bundle it right here. Okay. So that's that. We have completely installed the electronics. We have tested it. We installed the servo, receiver, ESC, the motor, and the battery, and we've tested everything with the transmitter. We also did a little bit of cable management. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to glue the tires and also, of course, mount them onto the chassis. And we're getting very, very, very close to finishing this kit. All right, that's it for this video. If you're building along and this video helped you, click that like button. Consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.